Hey, my friend, Adam here. Most businesses are still building content for a version of social media that just doesn't exist anymore. One where followers and how things looked actually mattered, but that era's over, and the brands that are pulling ahead, they already know it. 5 years ago, the feed rewarded followers, but today it rewards performance. Every post lives or dies on its own, and if you haven't adapted yet, your strategy's already falling behind. Here's the brutal truth. 90% of brands are still designing content for profiles, while the algorithm only cares about posts, but a few smart companies have already made the switch, and they're pulling ahead. Fast. The smart ones aren't creating content like an art gallery anymore. They're moving like graffiti artists. Messy, quick, built for discovery. And it's working. I've worked with thousands of businesses over the last decade, and the ones growing the fastest today are the ones that are breaking their old strategy. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you what just changed across every major social platform and why it matters more than ever. The new playbook that smart businesses are using to win in this new feed-first world, and how you can use this to outlearn, outperform, and outgrow your competition starting this week. Because the old game is over, and the next era of social growth is already here. But to understand where to go next, we first need to take a quick look at the old model that most brands are still stuck in and why it no longer works. So let's dive in. The old strategy looked like this. One main social media account, branded visuals where everything looked and sounded and felt the same, and a carefully curated grid that looked more like a magazine cover than a social media platform. And everything that was posted had to be polished and approved by every single person on the team and on brand and on message. Think of the old model like an art gallery. Pristine lighting, curated pieces, one exhibit at a time. I mean, it was clean, predictable, contained, a bit stuffy and unrelatable to many, but hey, at least it looked good. This is how most brands still approach social, with one main hero account that's built like a showroom. It's where they showcase product shots and branded graphics and occasional behind-the-scenes posts. Everything gets signed off by 4 departments and needs HR and legal to review it all before it goes live. It's all very safe, very slow, and unsurprisingly, very easy to ignore. And this strategy did make sense 5 years ago. Because back then, social media was driven by followers. You posted for people who already knew you. If someone followed your brand or your business or your page, it meant that they would see more of your stuff. That meant maintaining a clean brand feed was the priority. But that model is collapsing. Actually, scratch that. That model is dead and gone because we've already moved from a follower graph to a content graph. The feed, not your profile, is now the front door. Discovery is algorithmic rather than follower-based. And individual posts rather than personal or branded profiles are what earn reach and drive attention and build trust. And that's why the smart brands and businesses are changing course to an entirely new and entirely more effective strategy. The gallery strategy is still common, but it no longer works as a growth engine. That's why the top brands and businesses today, instead of acting like art gallery curators, are moving like street artists. Think rapid fire, format testing, low stakes, high volume. They don't need every piece to be perfect, they just need one to hit. Today's content environment rewards experimentation, not polish. Discovery happens post by post, and each piece of content is judged on its own, not based on who posted it or how well it fits the brand grid. And this is why the graffiti approach outperforms the gallery. It's built around speed, volume, and testing. You launch content quickly without overproducing it. You try different formats and hooks and tones and different lengths, and you measure results in real time using performance data, not opinions, in order to decide what kind of content gets repeated. The execution often starts with what I call experimental accounts, or EAs for short. These aren't official channels. They don't follow brand guidelines. They're low-stakes testing environments that let you find signals before investing at scale. There's no approvals, no departments, just creators running controlled experiments at speed. When something that you experiment with hits, you scale it. Sometimes it becomes a recurring format, sometimes a new vertical account. Sometimes it informs content back on the main page, but every winner becomes a new lever that you can pull to get more leads, more customers, and more sales. And over time, this process turns a brand from a single content feed into a portfolio of different experiments. Each one plays a role. Some drive reach, some drive trust, some are optimized for conversions, some for communication. And because you're testing constantly, your system gets smarter, way faster than your competition. This model works because the feed is now open. Any account can win on any given day. You don't need followers, you just need ideas, which puts us all on a level playing field. After all, back in the day, it would have been impossible for a new creator or a new account with 0 followers to compete against an already established brand or business with millions of followers. But today, we see it all the time. Brand new accounts blowing up overnight off the back of a single piece of content, completely changing the trajectory of their lives and their business. But like I said before, most brands are still optimizing for control. They're trying to maintain a visual consistency instead of earning viewer attention. And that mindset locks them out of this very opportunity that the new algorithms are designed to reward. So Graffiti accounts run laps around galleries because they treat content like a lab, not like a museum. Every post becomes a test, and every metric is a lesson, and the fastest learners win. And speaking of fast, this is where tools like Adverity can give your team a massive edge. If you're still stuck staring at static dashboards, waiting days for reports, and hoping someone on your data team can make sense of it all, stop. There's a faster, easier way. Adverity has introduced data conversations, and it's like having ChatGPT plugged directly into your marketing data. Instead of wasting time digging through reports, you just ask questions like, what channel brought the highest ROI last week? Or which campaign had the lowest CPA in Europe? And boom. Instant answers, complete with visuals, no SQL or BI tools, no meetings, just results. It's powered by conversational and agentic AI, which means literally anyone on your team can get answers fast without bugging a data analyst every 5 minutes. Here's the kicker. Teams using this are making decisions 60% faster, reducing manual work by 40% and saving 25% in overhead. So if you're tired of waiting, second guessing, or making blind decisions, it's time to try a smarter approach. Visit the link in my bio to check out data conversations and see how real-time AI-powered insights can change the game for your business. Now, once you've got that kind of real-time clarity, the next unlock is understanding how the platforms actually distribute your content. And that's where the algorithm flip comes in. Every major social platform out there has shifted from something called social distribution to algorithmic discovery. Appreciate, this sounds really fancy, but here's what it means in plain English. The old system prioritized relationships. If someone followed your business, then your content would be more likely to appear in their newsfeed. Growth, therefore, was linear. Build an audience, then reach them. So the gallery strategy made sense in that world, but that system is gone. Today, content doesn't travel through follower networks. It travels through performance loops. This means that the feed isn't your audience, it's just a testing engine. And the platforms measure early engagement, diagnose the topic, and then decide who else to show that content to based on that signal. Still sounds kind of confusing though, so let me give you an example. If half of your viewers watch one of your videos to completion in the first hour, the platform pushes it to 5,000 more viewers. If performance is strong, reach expands again. On the other hand, if the reach is weak and it doesn't perform that well, the post dies. Simple as that. And this is the algorithm flip. And it means 2 things. Number 1, you're not creating content for your audience, you're creating content to find your audience. And number 2, your profile is completely irrelevant if your last post underperformed, because nobody's going to see it. But most brands haven't internalized this yet. They still post as if their followers matter most, but the algorithm doesn't care who follows you. It cares whether your content performs right now. That's why accounts with 0 followers are going viral daily, and why brands with 100,000 followers can't seem to break 1,000 views. Reach is no longer earned through loyalty. It's earned through relevance. And this rewrites the playbook for strategy. You don't need to wait until a campaign is fully planned or designed before posting it. You can run 5 early tests, soft launch angles, try new topics or formats, and you can see what gets traction. The platform tells you what it wants more of. Then you just follow that signal. And because most platforms prioritize early engagement velocity, which is how a post performs in its first hour, you don't just need good content, you need tight ideas that land immediately. The first 3 seconds actually matter. The structure matters. Every frame, every caption, every cut has a job. But this is why Graffiti beats galleries. Not because it's edgier, but because it's optimized for how distribution actually works. In many ways, it actually takes a whole lot of stress out of the equation because your goal is no longer to produce the perfect piece of content, but rather just to make a whole bunch of different stuff and fail fast and find out what works, and then double down on the winners. Social media used to be about building this massive following, but now it's about feeding the algorithm what it wants and letting it find your future customers for you. So now that you've seen how the algorithm is your distribution engine, the next step is learning how to build content that feeds it consistently. So let's do that now. Winning on social media today isn't about being original. It's about being repeatable. Most brands spend months developing new campaign formats. They plan out 10 episodes, they build a custom set and hire talent and create a multi-week rollout strategy before the first video even gets posted. Then the series launches, it flops in silence, and the whole thing gets shelved. Yay, marketing! The problem wasn't the production, it's the sequence, and far too many brands ignore real-world data in favor of internal review cycles. But you can't guess your way to a winning format anymore. You gotta earn it. Fortunately, there's a relatively easy way to do that. You see, high-performing creators operate with a different cadence. They post 5 ideas, 3 fail, 1 does okay, 1 works, but that 1 gets doubled down on. They rerun the format, refine the delivery, and dial in the topic until they find a repeatable hit. Once the audience starts expecting it, they package it as a series. This is format velocity, the speed at which you test, identify, and scale repeatable ideas. And it's the difference between guessing at what your audience wants and actually knowing what's going to work. And in today's world, velocity beats vision every single time. The fact is, the most successful content brands today don't just have one show, they've got 10. And each one was built from signal and not just theory. That's why their stuff performs, because it was shaped in the news feed and then iterated on each and every single time. But sounds a bit confusing still, so here's the tactical breakdown. Step 1, test content raw. Focus on core ideas and not production quality. Don't overthink things, just hit record and then ship it to the newsfeed. Step 2, measure traction. Look for completion rates and saves and comments and replays. These are your early signals that the algorithm, and therefore the audience, are paying attention. Step 3, repeat the angle with small tweaks. Confirm the signal, in other words, keep the bones the same, but test variations on the hook and the delivery or the length in order to see what sticks the hardest. Step 4, package the format. Now's the time to introduce structure and branding and some kind of consistency. This is where your test becomes a show and it gives people something to come back for. Step 5, scale. Create derivatives and spin-offs or deeper cuts. Use what worked as a foundation to expand across channels and angles and different audience segments. This process is fast, it's focused, and it's built for how algorithms work today. And the best part is that you don't need to invent new shows from scratch. You can simply borrow structure from what's already working. Swipe formats, change the wrapper, and run them for your own niche. Content isn't IP or intellectual property. It's just infrastructure. And the faster you build it, the faster you grow. And when you've found what works, you don't just repeat it, you scale it. And that's where channel strategy comes in. The biggest and fastest growth that we're seeing right now is no longer coming from one single account. Now it's happening across a portfolio. The traditional approach was to build one main channel, a catch-all brand account. Every post went there, every update, every format, every call to action. The goal was consistency. But consistency kills reach when content types start competing against each other in the same feed. Today's strategy, therefore, is different. Smart brands run multiple channels, each one focused, each one purpose-built. Some are personality-driven, some are product or service-focused, some are pure entertainment, but together they act like a content network. Separately, each one plays by a specific set of rules optimized for a specific audience. This structure, therefore, creates 3 key advantages. First, precision. You don't water down your content trying to appeal to everyone. Each channel is dialed into one format, one message, one viewer profile. Next, signal clarity. You know exactly what's working and why. There's no noise, no internal content cannibalization. And third, scalability. Once a format is proven, you can spin it into a new channel and multiply reach without bloating your main feed. You'll see this everywhere in modern content strategy, from creator-led brands to startups to global media companies. Multiple handles, multiple personalities, multiple entry points to the same brand. Now, here's the good news. You do not need to launch 5 channels all at once. Just start with one. Find what works and then clone and repackage. Each account you create becomes an asset, discoverable on its own, but connected by narrative and style to your overall theme. This is how you move from we post content to we run a content system. This is also how you future-proof your online presence, because if one channel plateaus or the algorithm changes, your others are still running. Diversification isn't just about safety, it's how you maximize surface area and win faster. The single account strategy was incredibly efficient in the gallery era. But in the graffiti era, channel sprawl is actually an advantage, if each one earns its place. But growth for the sake of growth alone isn't the end goal. After all, getting more views means nothing if those views don't also drive more leads and more customers and more sales. So this is where monetization becomes the differentiator. Content doesn't equal revenue, it equals attention. What you do with that attention is what drives the business. Most businesses out there are still treating content as a soft asset, something that builds awareness or brand equity, but without a clear monetization layer underneath, views are just noise. You might grow an audience, but you're not going to grow your sales. The solution, though, isn't to sell harder, it's just to install a system. Every brand and business out there needs a monetization stack, a clear set of paths that convert attention into outcomes. This could be email capture, product education, affiliate flows, private demos, wait lists, or native checkout. The mechanics may vary, but what matters here is that they're baked in from the very start. So here's what this looks like in practice. First, there's the top of funnel. These are short-form pieces of content that earn reach. Think shorts, reels, stories, things like that. Then, mid-funnel. Content that builds trust or teaches or frames the product or service. These are longer form videos or email or retargeting ads. Then you got bottom of funnel. Call to actions or CTAs that move viewers into a buying path without killing your reach. Again, more long form videos, email, and podcasts fit in here too. The best content operators treat their pages like a sales engine, not a feed. And the smart ones go even further. They use high-performing content to build systems that generate recurring value. Could be a weekly newsletter that drives bookings, appointments, or sales. Could be a podcast that leads to enterprise demos. Could be a micro community that nurtures high-ticket leads. Again, the format doesn't matter as much as simply having the system in place does. This is how creators become brands. It's how brands become media businesses. And it's how media businesses start printing revenue. Big important point here, though, is that this monetization layer isn't something that you just tack on later, after you've already built an audience or already have a library of content under your belt. Rather, it's something that you architect alongside your content and then refine as you go, because when you get this right, content stops being a cost center and starts becoming an income-producing engine. Of course, if you're serious about growing your business, then don't just stop at content. The next move is stacking proven marketing strategies that actually scale. And I break down 10 of them step by step in this video that I've got linked up right here, titled 10 Marketing Strategies Guaranteed to Grow Any Business. So feel free to tap or click that now. I'll see you in there in just a second.